Tonight we're going to have a special feature Shiur about the depth of the parasha of Aduma and the personality of Rabbi Eliezer HaGodol, Rabbi Eliezer ben Hurcanus, which we would like to start with a certain aura. If one were to learn Seder Tyrus and learn Maseches Porah, you'll find something very fascinating. More than any other Masechta in Shas, in Maseches Porah, there are many memories in the name of Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Eliezer, who's Rabbi Eliezer HaGodol, Rabbi Eliezer ben Hurcanus. And there is a medrash, Tanchume, in Parshas Chukas. And I would like to quote, unquote, B'shor she'olo Moshe lamorim, when Moshe went up to Mekabel the Torah, Shoma koiloi shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yoshev ve'oisek beParshas Aduma halacha b'shem Omer. Moshe Rabbeinu finds HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The encounter of Moshe Rabbeinu, the first time when he goes up to receive the Torah, he sees HaKadosh Baruch Hu sitting and learning Yoshev ve'oisek beParshas Aduma ve'omer b'shem Omer, and he says the halacha of Aduma b'shem Omer. Rabbi Eliezer b'ni Omer, Eglo bas shnosa uporo bas shtayim. There's a machlekes in the Mishnah in the beginning of Porah. What is the age of Eglo? We need Eglo Arufo and Porah. If Eglo is bas shono and Porah is bas shtayim, or Porah is bas sholosh, and Mandoma even said bas arba. But when Moshe Rabbeinu meets HaKadosh Baruch Hu for the very first time, he sees HaKadosh Baruch Hu Isaac in the parasha of Porah Aduma, and he says, Eliezer b'ni, Rabbi Eliezer b'ni, Oimer Porah b'shtayim. Oma Moshe lefonov, Ribono shel olam, ha'elyonim ve'atachtonim shelcha hem, ve'ato Oimer halacha b'shmoi shel basar v'dam. You are the Kadosh Baruch Hu, the Melech ha'olam kula, elyonim ve'atachtonim, and what are you doing? You're saying halacha b'shem basar v'dam b'shmoi from Rabbi Eliezer ben Hurcanus. Oma le HaKadosh Baruch Hu answers Moshe Rabbeinu. Listen carefully. Tzadik echod osid la'amoid be'oilami ve'osid liftoyach beparshas Porah Aduma tchilo. Rabbi Eliezer oimer egla b'shnos u'porah b'shtayim. He says he's a tzadik which is going to be learning la'amoid be'oilami. He's going to stand in the world to come. That means Moshe Rabbeinu many generations before Rabbi Eliezer ben Hurcanus. And the osid liftoyach, he is going to open up the parsha of the Masechta of Porah Aduma, and he's going to say, Porah is b'shtayim. Omar lei Moshe is asking for a request. Ribono ilomim, yehi rotzoin sheyeh mechalotzai. I wish that this Rabbi Eliezer that you're quoting his halacha, and this is the first encounter, the first time I hear about the Torah is Parshas Porah Aduma and Rabbi Eliezer, I'm asking HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Levai, this Rabbi Eliezer ben Hurcanus will be my descendant, who will be miyotzei chalotze. Omar lei chayecho, HaKadosh Baruch Hu made a shvua to Moshe Rabbeinu, shehu mechaletz chalotzecho, ado diksiv, v'shem ho'echod Eliezer, v'shem oisa hamiyuchod Eliezer. We know v'shem ho'echod Eliezer, Moshe Rabbeinu has two kids, Eliezer and Gershom. V'shem ho'echod Eliezer, this is where HaKadosh Baruch Hu is giving a promise after to Moshe Rabbeinu. Rabbi Eliezer HaGodol, Rabbi Eliezer ben Hurcanus, is going to be from Yotzei Chalotzev. So we have to understand what was Tutzach, though it's definitely not a simple medrash. Moshe Rabbeinu is nisaved that this Rabbi Eliezer ben Hurcanus will be with Chalotzev, and also why is this Rabbi Eliezer ben Hurcanus so unique and special that the parasha and the halachas of Porah Aduma, many of the halachas more than other Masechta in Shas, is mentioned b'shem Rabbi Eliezer throughout the entire Masechta of Porah. So I'd like to suggest and to offer the following explanation, Ken Zayin La'amita Shel Torah. Rashi in the beginning of Parshas Chukas says b'shem Rabbi Moshe Hadarshan, and I quote, V'yikchu elecho Porah Adumo, Moshel leben Shifcho. He's saying this is a moshel to a ben of a shifcha, a son of one of the workers of the shifchas that works for the Odin, Shetineif Paltin Shel Melech. The son of the shifcha was metanif, he made dirty the Paltin Shel Melech, the palace the very special, unique palace of the king. They said, who is going to clean up the mess? He was Metanef. So the mother, the Shivcha, should go ahead and wipe and clean and get the place back in order. Kach, sagt Rashi, Tovoi Paro v'tekaneach halo egel. We know the Klal Yisrael was choyte in the Egel Azov. Yeshivos B'Tammuz, right after Matan Torah, 40 days later, Klal Yisrael was Ovid Avodah Zarah for Egel Azov. So the inyan of Pora Aduma, the entire concept of Pora Aduma, the mitzvah of Torah Aduma, was established to be mechaper and meiser Egel. Very interesting. The Gemara in Eruvin Daf Nun Daled, the Gemara says, Omar Rabi Eliezer, Mai diksiv chorus haluchos. It says chorus. The ksav was chorus, was engraved in the luchos. What is the word chorov? Chorus. Ilmole lo nishtabru luchos rishaynos lo nishtakcha Torah meYisrael. The entire concept of forgetfulness of shichacha is due to Chet HaEgel. And if not for the fact that there was a Chet HaEgel, there wouldn't be a concept of shichacha. Says Rashi, Lo nishtakcha chorus mashma chokuk. Chorus weist ois. Apparently, the definition of the word chorus means chokuk is engraved. Ve'eino nimchak le'olam. The difference between a ksav and an engravement is, the ksav is written b'dioi, so throughout the course of time, it gets extinguished, it gets, wiped out, the ksav. But something which is a chakika al gabe ha'even, something which is engraved in stone, never ever gets erased forever. Al yedei haluchos hoiso, I'm quoting Rashi in Eruvin Daf Nun Daled, oisa Torah chakuko liYisrael mishtakach mehem oilomis. So the parsha of Shichacho, first, the inception of Shichacho, the musag of forgetting Torah, started when Moshe Rabbeinu broke the Luchos Rishonos. But if not for Chet HaEgel, and Moshe Rabbeinu wouldn't have broken the Luchos Rishonos, so being that the Torah was engraved on top of the Luchos, there wouldn't have been a parsha of Shichachas HaTorah. There's a medrash, a very fascinating medrash, at the beginning of Parshas Bereshis. V'choshech al pnei tehoim. What is choshech? Choshech is Malchus Yovam. Those great lange morals about choshech is Malchus Yovam. The Omar Rab Shmuel bar Nachmani, I'd like to quote the medrash himself. Posuk ze einoi choivo. The oisies of choshech is oisies shochach. The oisies of choshech, when you mehapech the word of choshech, is the oisies of shochach. The avodah of the Yevonim, I'm touching up the way the Maral learns pshat in the Medrash Rabbah. The avodah Yevonim was, we know, lashkicham teirosecho, and it says in the Medrash, Gozru Yevonim, the gzeir was kisvu lochem al keren asher en lanu chelik be'elokei Yisrael. Rashi on the Medrash, there's a Pirush Rashi on the Medrash. Rashi on the Medrash says, Keren Asher Zechet HaEgel. So it comes out that the inyan of Shichachas HaTorah is because of Chet HaEgel. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been, the Torah would be Chakuka Yisrael Mishtakach Me'em Elomis. So the Yevonim, that their logo, their concept, their motto was Lahashkicham Teirosecha, is Kisvu Lachem, let's go back to the Egel, Al Keren Asher Ein Lanu Chelek Belokei Yisrael. There's a Gemara Menachos in Daf Tzadik Testament Beis. Gemara speaks about the bracha HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave to Yeshua ben Nun as soon as he takes over from Moshe Rabbeinu. Lo yomu sefer HaTorah hazeh mipicha, Omar Rab Shmuel bar Nachmani, roa HaKadosh Baruch Hu es Yeshua shedivrei Torah chavivim olav beYoser. HaKadosh Baruch Hu saw that Yeshua ben Nun, his divrei Torah chavivin olav beYoser, Shenemar umershorsa Yeshua ben Nun nar leyomish mitoich oil. He saw he's so chavivus of Torah that he never ever left the tent of Moshe Rabbeinu, of his Rebbe, the one that Moshe Torah. Omar HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yeshua ben Nun kol kach chavivin alecha divrei Torah leyomush sefer HaTorah hazeh mipicha. Says Rashi. It's Rashi Menachos Tzadik Testament Beis. Says Rashi. Kol kach chavivim leyomush hivticha shelo tishtakach Torah mimenu. So we see that the schar of chavivus HaTorah, kol kachavivin, something so dear to him, and the chavivus is leyom mitoich oil, the 24/7, he never ever left the tent of Moshe Rabbeinu in the Meiser HaTorah. The haftoch is shalei tishtakach Torah imenu, Yeshua will never forget Torah. You know, if you look, there is a medrash called Pirkei Rabbi Eliezer. Pirkei Rabbi Eliezer was written by Rabbi Eliezer, Agod Rabbi Eliezer ben Hurcanus. In the very first parak of Pirkei Rabbi Eliezer, it says the story of Rabbi Eliezer ben Hurcanus. And the question is if he wrote also the first parak or somebody else wrote the first parak. There's steers Lakan, the Hadal and Marzu, each one of them has their own pirush. But it's part of Pirkei Rabbi Eliezer as a din of a Mishnah was written by the Tanoim. It says Rabbi Eliezer ben Hurcanus never ever opened the Sefer, never learned Torah till he was 28 years old. His father was very rich, was Vashir Adoyer, and he left his father's house. He didn't take a penny from his father, he was a businessman, and he learned Torah mitoich hadchak. It says he was boiche and he was misane taniyos. He wanted to come learn by Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, and after he started learning by Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, he was the Godel Talmidim of Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, v'hoyu divrei Torah chavivin olav beyoser. The divrei Torah were chavivin olav beyoser. In other words, we find a very identical language of the yachas of someone to Torah. Yeshua ben Nun is divrei Torah chavivin olav beyoser leyomush. And so is Rabbi Eliezer ben Hurcanus, who is the son of Hurcanus the Gevir, who didn't have any shaykhs to Torah. He left his father major wealth, and he went, he cried, and he fasted Tanaisim until he could get accepted by Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, who was the Gadol Ador, to learn by him Torah. Then if you continue there in Pirkei Rabbi Eliezer in Perek Beis, it says that Hurcanus came to Yerushalayim. He heard his son became a shugger, gangen learn in Yerushalayim in HaKoilel by Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. So he wanted to write a contract. He's madirim mikol nechosov, to make sure that he doesn't get one iota of his estate la'acha mea v'esru. Shteit in Pirkei Rabbi Eliezer, listen, I'm quoting all Loyli Yerushalayim lenadoisei v'motzo sham yoyma toivo leRabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. He saw some party by Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai in Shtub, v'hoyu kol gdoile hamedina soyadim etzloi. G'dayla Medina is not necessarily all the Talmidei Chachomim, but all the G'dayla Ador, the Parnosim, the Gaboim, the Rosh HaKol, everybody's sitting around in the huge Besmedrish of Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. Shoyo Meisiv Lemala Migdayla Yerushalayim. Omru Are Oviv Shel Rabbi Eliezer Bo. They told, the whisper, the rumor got around to the Mizrach Van, to Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. He's sitting, tell him, you know what? This man, this businessman, you see walking in with a hat. This is the father. This is Hurcanus, the father of Rabbi Eliezer HaGadol, who's sitting over here. Omar lohem asulei mokem v'yeshiva oisei etzli. Mach Platz, bring him up to the Mizrach, let him sit next to me. Nosan eva b'Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai is looking at Rabbi Eliezer. Ve'omar lo emoy lanu dover echot min haTorah. Tell us, zog up such tickle Torah, your father is here. Omar le harei ani mizbayesh. Harei ani oimed v'hoylech li. I'm ashamed. I don't want to say anything. I'm getting up and I'm walking away. Omad Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai v'holach le'lochutz. He went outside where Rabbi Eliezer ben Hurcanus ran away. V'hoy Rabbi Eliezer Yoshev, Rabbi Eliezer sat, v'hoyu ponov me'irois ke'oy rachamo. Listen to an example. This is a Pirkei Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Eliezer's face was shining like a sunshine. V'karnoisov, the chronos, the rays, yoitzeis kekarnos Moshe Rabbeinu. There was such a light that it was light like Moshe Rabbeinu. You know, Pnei Moshe k'Pnei Chama. Soon we're going to see the Goyen. Ve'oyo ve'enoi odom yoideya, was such a light, such a ray of light shining from Rabbi Eliezer ben Hurcanus' face. Im yoim ve'im laila. Such a light, such a great radiation of Keren Oiro coming out from Rabbi Eliezer ben Hurcanus' ponim, that the person who stands by doesn't know if it's dark outside, if it's light outside. It could be middle of the night, but it's shining like a Chamo. Omad bo me'acho v'noshko el roishoi ve'omar Avrom Yitzchak v'Yaakov miyetze michalotzeichem. Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, take a look who we zeiche to have such a descendant, such an anicle like Rabbi Eliezer ben Hurcanus. Omar Hurcanus Oviv, Hurcanus, he's Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai saying, Psazazach is a Talmud Chacham outside. Lemi Oimerken, Omuloi Yitzchak v'Yankev. He's telling Avram, he's telling to Yitzchak and Yaakov, Ve'lozo binche. Ob v'chein ho yotzorich loim ha'ashrechem, Avram Yitzchak v'Yaakov miyetzem echalotzechem, ela ashrei ani miyetzem echalotzai. He should have said Avram Yitzchak v'Yaakov, Hurcanus, all of a sudden the coin dropped. Miyotzem echalotzai, who is my child? I never knew. Yosha v'dorash ve'oviv oimed al raglov. Kiven she'oviv oimed al regel, nival omer le'aba shev she'eni yochel loimed teiro ve'ato oimed al raglecho. Father is standing, I'll be sitting and saying, Shtikol Torah, sit down. I cannot say Torah when my father is standing by me. Bossi, Omar le Hurcanus le Eliezer, Bossi le Nadois Oischo Minichosai. Now, I came really to write you out of my tzavot to make sure you're not getting a penny because you became a sugar. Achshov shani royes hashvach hagodol hazeh, arei kol chosai nesunim l'cho b'matono. Omar lo v'arei eini shove ke'echod mehem. Ha'oretz u'meloya ve'ilu kesef bikashti. Harei oil lefonav litin li shenemar. לי הכסף ולי עזוב, לא ביקשתי מהקדוש ברוך הוא שאזכה לתורה בלבד, שנאמר כל פקודי כל ישרתי כל ערך שקר סניס. He says, if I wanted to get the Kadosh Baruch Hu to give me wealth, I wouldn't have come to my father. I would come to Kadosh Baruch Hu, li hakesef v'li azov, and I don't want to ask for him. Let's learn up together what shtei in this Ma'aser of Rabbi Eliezer ben Hurcanus and his father. The Mishnah in Pirkei Avos says as follows: Chamisha Talmudim oyu Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai had 5 Talmidim. Ve'elin Rabbi Eliezer ben Hurcanus, this is unsere Rabbi Eliezer HaGodel, Rabbi Shiur ben Chananya, Rabbi Shiur ben Chananya HaLevi was Rabbi Shiur from the Mishnah, with Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Shiur, Rabbi Eliezer ben Hurcanus, Rabbi Shiur is Rabbi Shiur ben Chananya, Rabbi Yossi HaKohen, Rabbi Shimon ben Nesan, that's Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi Eliezer ben Aroch. Huoyo Moine Shvachon, the Rebbe wrote the Shvach and each and every one of his Talmidim. Rabbi Eliezer ben Hurcanus, Boyer Sud she'enoi me'abed tipo, says the Bartanura, quoting, she'enoi me'abed tipo kachu enoi shecheach dovor echod mitalmudei. What does it mean, Boyer Sud she'enoi me'abed tipo, not one iota, one drop? This is Rabbi Eliezer ben Hurcanus, that it doesn't have such a concept of shichicho. You're going to put him on the scale. All of Chachmi Yisrael together. Rabbi Eliezer ben Hurcanus on the other side of the scale. The scale would have tilted. In other words, his value, his nominal value of Rabbi Eliezer ben Hurcanus is bigger than all the other Tanoim, all the other Talmidim put together. Al Koponim, it says in the Brayse, the Rabbi Eliezer is divrei Torah chovivim olav beyoser. He left his father's wealth in order to learn Torah mitoich hunger, mitoich taneisim, mitoich isurim. The reason why he became a boyer seed, I'm just explaining. Divrei Torah chavivin olav beyoser is really the base, the fundamental mile that one needs in order to be mufka from the parasha of Shichach HaSatayra. Shichach HaSatayra comes in wherever the Chaviv HaSatayra is secondary. But somebody who is divrei Torah chavivim olav beyoser, and he is like Yeshua bin Nun, HaKadosh Baruch Hu was maftiach him that the Torah should never be forgotten, so too Rabbi Eliezer ben Hurcanus is boyer sud she'enim me'apet tipo. When the borer has on the sides of him some tiny little minute holes, so tipos, some drops of water get soaked into the ground, and you, from 100 liter, you would have 1 ounce, which is gone with the dripping in, going into the walls. But if it's a boyer sud, if it's sad besi, the whole bore, that is 100% chatzitzo, that no water can go out, Rabbi Eliezer ben Hurcanus is boyer seed she'eino me'abed tipo. What does it mean? V'hoyu Rabbi Eliezer yoshev ve'ponov me'iros ko'era chamo ve'karnoisev Yosef yoitzos kekarnos Moshe Rabbeinu. It says when Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai went out, he sees the face of Rabbi Eliezer ben Hurcanus, and he sees it shines like ko'era chamo, and the karnois of Yosef Kakarnos Moshe Rabbeinu. And also, what is this Oimed al Raglov Yoitze Michalotzecho? What is going on over here? You know, I'd like to say a few goyans. One goyan is printed up after Maseches Broches. It says, is Likutei Torah. If you look in the Mishnah, it's Likutei Torah from the Gro, from Talmidei Agro B'Shem the Gro. And the goyan says, and I'm quoting, there's a pasuk in Tehillim in Kapitel Yutes, Gam Avdecho Nizor Bohem B'Shomrom Eikev Rav. Says the goyan, and I quote the Lashon of the goyan, Tevas Gam Eino Muven Lichoyra. What's Gam Avdecho? What Gam means l'Rabbis. Also, what is Gam Avdecho? Says the goyan, Ve'inyan Adovar, Ki Odom Nizdakech Hagoyse B'Toiro, Kimoi B'Moishe Shekol Kach Nizdakek V'Nizar, Kezoyer Rakia At She'oyer Aboim Yom. He says a person gets purified. Same thing, you put Kesef Zov in a matzreif and you take out all the psoilus, it becomes purer and purer until it becomes 100% gold, 24 karat gold. Says Moshe Rabbeinu was Nizdakech. In other words, he got so pure, because Zoyar Harakia. What we say, Kelmol Yachamim? Zoyar Harakia. What is the Zoyar Harakia? This is the light, unobstructed light. Zog the Goyen Shatiro, Mavhekes Umazheres, Kezoyar Nitzois Hashemesh. Kemoshe Omu Bebaba Basra, there's a Gemara Baba Basra Dafnun Ches. Rabno Yometzayin Ma'arto. Rabno used to know everybody, whoever, all the Gdolim, all the Tanoim lived and died and buried. He used to go and write down outside the Matzeva who is Omar Rabno Nistakalti Bishnei Akevov Shel Odom Arishon. I looked at the two heels of Odom Arishon. He went to the kever, to Moros HaMachpelah, where Odom Arishon is buried, and he looked at his two heels. V'doimim le'shnei galgalei chamo. The heels of Odom Arishon look like two balls, sun balls, galgalei chamo. Zog the Goyen, v'zeu gam avdecho nizhar miloshon zoya b'shoimrom ekev rav, afa ekev rav be'echus. Kind of lotion there's arichos about it, Nefesh HaChaim, in Shar Aleph, in Perek Chof, is mayuch about it. Rabbi Eliezer ben Hurcanus came to Madrege sheyoishev v'yoitzes karnov kekarnos Moshe Rabbeinu ve'ein odom yedei me'omer le'layla. What does that mean? According to the Goyen, it means that a person can come nizdach, he came so pure in the Hagoysa b'Torah that he becomes like Zoyar HaRakia. The light is an endless light, like a pure light of sun, Zoyar HaRakia. Shatiro mavhekes, I'm saying it, repeating again the lotion of the Goyen. Shatiro mavhekes umazeres kezoyar nitzis hashemesh. Ukemoich Rabbi Eliezer ben Hurcanus higia lemadrege zu shel Moshe Rabbeinu shel yoponov ke'orachamo v'karnoisav ke'karnoi shel Moshe Rabbeinu. I'd like to add on another Goyen, a beautiful, beautiful Goyen, also in Baba Basra. The Gemara says that the Zkenim sheba'isa ador, the people who saw Moshe, so Yeshua, said Pnei Moshe ki Pnei Chamo uPnei Yehoshua ki Pnei Levana. If you want to be mamshel, what's the difference between the Rebbe and the Talmud, Moshe Rabbeinu and Yeshua ben Nun? Moshe was Pnei Chamo. It was like sun, the light of Moshe Rabbeinu was a sunshine. Yeshua is like a moonlight, not like a sunshine, but like a moonlight. Zog the Kohen, and I'm quoting the Lashon HaGoyen in Baba Basra, in the back in the Likutim, with the Ayin Hair with base. Pirush. שמוישה רבינו לא היה בו עניין ששיחך הסתר כלל, ודומה לחמו שמאיר תמיד. The sun, all days of the year, I'm not talking about this, the clouds that could just be a chatzitza before, but the sun in itself is Zoyer al Kadur Oretz upon universe, is unobstructed light throughout 354 days a year, or the sun year, 365 days. Zog the Goyen shemeiro tomid. The Yeshua doimel levona. However, Yeshua is not like Moshe. He's doimel levona. Shepeomi megula upeomi mechusa. We know the sun depends the location of the yereach of the levona, klape the kadur oretz, the globe. We know that parts of this month starts with a very small levona. It comes to the 15th of the month. It's 100% megula. Then he goes peiches v'elach till the end of the month is ne'elam again. So it's pe'omim zog the goy begula pe'omim nechuse. V'hainu mishum shenishtaqhu menu halachas b'me'evlo shel Moshe. Okay, asugi the Tmurah of this Zvov. The Gemara in Tmurah of this Zvov is the Gemara mentioned many times. B'shor she'olah Moshe l'morem Omar lo Yeshua, he told Yeshua, Sh'al mini kol sveikis. Omar lo klum. Moshe tells him, I'm going up to Shamayim, my neshama is going to be taken away. If you have any shaila in halacha, any shaila in Torah, please ask me before I depart. Yeshua tells him, I should forget anything? You wrote about me, Mishosah B'Shua B'nu Na'al Yomish Mitoicha Oil. How is it Shaykh Shichecha B'mi? Miyad is Moshe Rabbeinu got Zabracha. Uba'avoin shegoram lechalisha sadas of Moshe. It's a sugi b'fnei atzmo. Why is Moshe Ki'ilu Niskana Yeshua did not forget anything from the Torah? But as I state, because he was Metzayer's Rebbe, Nishtakchu mimenu, and the Gemara is a Shaila, 300 halachas, 3,000 halachas, 1,700. Al Koponim, a good part of the Torah was Nishtakach from Yeshua, and Bikshu Kol Yisrael Lahorgoi, they wanted to kill him. There's a law in the Torah B'chai V'aloshn that says, is a Isla Yosulu, there is a Isu of Shichachas HaTorah. Yeshua forgot the Torah. But this oven that Kivyochel was Mizgaya Klap Yisrael Klap Moshe Rabbeinu, he told the Vos Pas Shichacho, you said about me Leyomish Sefer HaTorah Semipicho Ve'ogisa Boyem V'Alayl Ve'Mitoicho Oil. I was always there. I never left the tents of Mela. I shouldn't have Shichacho. Like we learned that Chavivim Olu B'Yoyisa should be moved from Shichacho. But the fact that Yeshua chepered with Moshe Rabbeinu, he was going to the Machlish Daita Shel Moshe, he got a punishment and he started forgetting this 300, 3,000, 1,700 halachas, like the whole sugi. The Gemara says, Afal Pichein, Osniel ben Kenazos Machzim Oisa Mitoich Pulpuloi, and Kolev gave him, Osniel ben Kenaz, he gave him his daughter Achso to be a wife of his. Bischar Deyus Machzi Vayilkoid. As Kirya Sefer, Kirya Sefer doesn't mean the city of Kirya Sefer, just means all those halachas, which was Nishtakach b'mois Yeshua. Al Koponim, the Meile of Rabbi Eliezer ben Hurcanus, the Yozoiche, the Ponov was Meiros Ke'oira Chamo, V'oyu Ke'karnoiso Shel Moshe, it's exactly like him, exactly like the Inyan of Zoyar HaRokia, the Ekev Rav, he was Zeicha to come to that Madreg of Chaviv Molo B'Yesa, which is equivalent to Yeshua before Yeshua was Chayte, and therefore he was Mufker from the Parsha Shelo Hoyo Boy Inyan Shichach HaSater Klal. Now we understand what the Mishnah says. The Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai was Moine, the Milos of all his Talmidim. He says about his Talmud Rabbi Eliezer ben Hurcanus that Boyer Sud She'eino Me'apetipo. There's not one iota, one drop from the ocean, from the Okeanos of the Torah, that there be a pasta word of Shichecho by Rabbi Eliezer ben Hurcanus. Why? Because he was Chaviv Olu B'Yosef. He was really equivalent to Yeshua ben Nun, other than the fact that Yeshua was going to Lahachlish Daita Shel Moshe, so Kadosh Baruch Hu gave him as a punishment some form of Shichechas HaTorah. And that's why Pnei Moshe Ki Pnei Chamo, which is without unobstructed vision, which is never ever hidden, never ever mechusa, always karnei sov ke karnei sachamo. Yeshua's kelavona, once Yeshua was engaged in this punishment, he had the parsha of Shichachas HaTorah, therefore he becomes like a yoreach, like a levona, pe'omi megule, sometimes megule, but pe'omi mechusa. Rabbi Eliezer ben Hurcanus is a bersich she'eino me'abetipo. He was like Ke'ilu, like Moshe Rabbeinu. The reason why it says v'hoyu karnei, now we understand this lashon of the Pirkei Rabbi Eliezer. He saw his pon of Meiros Koiracham Avoyu Karnoisav Kekarnoisav Shel Moshe, which means Rabbi Eliezer ben Hurcanus was Chaviv in all of Beyoser. He never ever left the oil of Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. Therefore, his schar was Eino Me'abetipa. There is no concept of Shichecho. There is no concept of Shichecho. And pon of his Meiros Koiracham, and therefore there is no inyan of Shichachas HaTorah b'chlal Rabbi Eliezer ben Hurcanus, and therefore is a boyer seed she'enoi me'abetipo. Now, we learned that the inyan of Pora Aduma is in order to be mechaper and chet ha'egel. The inyan of Pora Aduma is to mechaper and chet ha'egel. And the tovo ye'ein v'tekaneach tzoyo kach tovo pora v'tekaneach v'sechaper al ha'egel comes out the way we saw the Gemara in Eruvin, that if not for the Chet HaEgel, Torah would have been chokuk al aluchis, chorus, would be engraved, Zokt Rashi, mihishtakach me'em oilomis. In other words, Chet HaEgel brought upon Klal Yisrael the concept of Shichachas HaTorah. But if not for the fact that there was a Chet HaEgel, so there would be in the Inyan, there wouldn't be Inyan Shichachas HaTorah. Once there were Chet in Chet HaEgel, there is a concept of Shichachas HaTorah through our generation. Whoever encountered, there is an inyan of Shichach. Otherwise, Torah will be engraved. Being that state in the Gemara, Tovoi Ein V'Sekaneach Tzoyas Bno, Por is coming to be Mechabed the Egel. Therefore, it's very, very. Rabbi Eliezer ben Hurcanus is in the Madrega of Boyosi Chenem and Apetipo. He's nimshol, and his face looks like it's all in the Mishnah, it's all in Chazal. You just have to open up. He's doimel Moshe Rabbeinu, as the Goya says, Shelo hoyo bo'in shichachas atayre v'doimel lachama shemiira tomid. So mimele the parsha, this parsha, Moshe Rabbeinu goes up to the Morim and he sees HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, B'Shem Rabbi Eliezer b'ni omer pora b'shtayim omaloi. You say B'Shem Bosov Adam. He says Rabbi Eliezer ben Hurcanus is the one who is the master of Maseches Porah. The reason why Roiv Halachas in Maseches Porah is mentioned B'Shem Rabbi Eliezer ben Hurcanus, being the entire mitzvah of Porah Aduma, the entire inyan of Porah Aduma, is to be mechaper al chet ha'egel. So comes out Zelu Mazeh, the egel which caused the Shvira Saluchas, which as a ramification had a ripple effect of Shichachas HaTorah. Therefore, Rabbi Eliezer ben Hurcanus, who is the one who is mufka from Shichachas HaTorah, who's part of his doimes lepon of Shel Moshe Rabbeinu, is part of his Zoreach K'oir HaChamo Mazhirin K'Zoyer HaRakia. He is the one, the Zoiche, that Kadosh Baruch Hu says over in his name, because here we find one Tana throughout all the course of the generations of the Tanoim, that is mufka from Shichachas HaTorah, im Yasimu es kol chach misol bekaf achas, Rabbi Eliezer ben Hurcanus bekaf acheres, because the value of afkor from Shichachas HaTorah is not found by anybody else but Rabbi Eliezer ben Hurcanus of Boyosi Chenem Ha'abetipo. Therefore, most Mishnayos in Maseches Porah are said over B'Shem Rabbi Eliezer ben Hurcanus. I'd like to add one more nekuda. The Gemara in Sukkot Daf Chof Zayin, Gemara says, "Tayin Ma'aser Rabbi Eliezer sheshovas beGolil ha'Elyon." The story of Rabbi Eliezer Golil, unser Rabbi Eliezer ben Hurcanus, beSukkoso shel Rabbi Yochanan beRabbi Eloi beKisori, v'higia Chamo leSukkah. The son came to the Sukkah. Omar Loi Ma'u she'efros alei Sadin. Could I put Shaila? But you put a Sadin on top of the Sukkah in order for the sun to be obstructed and not to go in. Higia Chamel Margalois Rabbi Eliezer notel Yochanan Sadin lePiros alei. Hivshil Rabbi Eliezer taliso le'achora v'yotzo. Lo mipnei she'ifligu b'dvorim, ela mipnei shelei omar dover shelei shoma mipiraboy le'oilom. The Rabbi Eliezer ben Hurcanus saw is the midah of Rabbi Eliezer ben Hurcanus was something that he really, the Mishnah in Porah, at the beginning of Porah, it says, Ani lo shomati elo, I only heard one thing. In other words, Rabbi Eliezer ben Hurcanus did not say, Mipnei shelei omar dovar shelei shoma mipiraboy le'oilom. He never ever said a halacha that he never heard from his Rabbi le'oilom. So the Rabbi Eliezer only said something which is Rabbi le'oilom. However, if you look at the Mishnah in Porah, we see the other way around. It says, Rabbi Shua says, the shaila is, if Porah is Bashtayim or Basholish. So Rabbi Eliezer says, Porah is Bashtayim. Comes on Rabbi Shua, Ani lo yishamati elo shleshis. I don't know, you're saying you're Eigen Shtikol Torah, you Rabbi Eliezer Agadol. But I sat down together with you, we're both Talmidim of Rabbi Yochanan, and I heard from him only shlishis, but for 3 years, not more, not less. And you saying Eigen Torah, which is a contradiction to the Meforshim. Mashal has the kashi. If Rabbi Eliezer was the one that never ever said something which Alei Shomim Piyabel Oilom, what is Rabbi Eliezer in the Mishnah in Porah says Keilu his own Shtikol Torah. If you look weiter the Suge in Daf Chof Ches Amud Aleph, again, Ma'aser Rabbi Eliezer sheshovas beGolil ha'Elyon v'shalu shloishim halachos b'ilchos Sukkah 12 Omar Shomati, 18 Omar Lo Shomati. Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Omer 18 Omar Shomati, 12 Omar Lo Shomati. Omar Lo Kol Dvaracha Ein El Mipi Hashmua. Omar Lohem Izkaktuni Lomar Dovar Shelo Shomati Mipi Rabbi Yossi. He said, you are forcing me to say something I never heard from my Rebbe. Miyomai Lo Kidmani Odom Beis HaMedrash. He says a few things about himself. I never ever somebody came any earlier than me to the Beis Medrash. V'lo yashanti b'beis hamedrash l'shenas kvar v'l'shenas harei. I never slept in beis medrash. V'lo yinachti odom beis hamedrash v'yatzossi. I was the last one at night to leave beis medrash. V'lo yomarti dover shelo yishamati mipi Rabi le'olam. Okay, says Zogt Rashi, Ma shelo yishamati le'omer kachi midosi. So Eliezer is saying about himself, I never ever said anything which I didn't hear from my Rebbe. In Pirkei Eliezer, this Mishnah, in Pirkei Eliezer, this Bryce that we spoke about before, when his father came to Yerushalayim, he found Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, and they told him, Rabbi Eliezer tells him, Omar lonu dover echad min ha-Torah, Omar Rabbi em shelcham dover lema dover doime. L'boy razeh she'einu yoichel loitzi mayim yoisim ma she'oyo moitzi, shenichnas boi kachani einu yoichel loimar divrei Torah yoisim ma shekibalti mimcho. First past, I should be moisiv. You just said this year. How could I say anything? You want me to say shtickle Torah? I cannot say anything that I haven't heard from you. Omar le Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai em shir l'chol moshel. It's not a bore. It's a mayon. It's a taich. It's a river. It's a water flow. We find that the mayon could be generating and exiting more water than the water that go into it. And the punchline is okay. It says again that even though he didn't have the koyach to be mechadesh, the halacha is he never ever said dover shel yishol merabe me'olam, yet he could say something yoyser mima shekibel misinai. What's going on over here? You know, it says there later, Oysa yoyim omar Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai psach v'drash omar le eini yochol liftoyach דוח הכל ודחקו ותלמידים ועומד ופוסח ודורש ברבים דבורים שלא ישמע תון אויזן מאוילום. כל דובר ודובר שיוצא מפיו אומר רבי יוחנן בן זכאי על רגלו ונשקע על פיו ואומר רבי אליעזר רבי אמס לימדתני. In other words, first he never said, his midah was, he never ever said something they'd never heard from his Rebbe. But yet, when they pushed him, they pressured him, Sarah B'Yochanan ben Zakkai, another Talmidim, he said such Torah, shelo yishma ton oizen me'olam. How does those two things, how do we explain this contradiction between those two things? Steht b'shem de Goyen, the Nusach of Kaddish, al Yisrael v'al Rabbona v'al Talmidei Hoyin, v'al kol Talmidei Talmidei Hoyin. The Kashi is obvious. Rabbona v'Talmidei is a Rebbe and a Talmid. Talmid Talmidei means the Talmid as a Talmid. So the Talmid is the Rebbe over the Talmid's Talmid. So in the second you say Rabbanon v'Talmidei, you cover Rabbanon v'Talmidei. In the next generation, this Talmid becomes a Rebbe, so he becomes Rabbanon v'Talmidei. What's the pshat al Yisrael v'al Rabbanon v'Talmidei v'al Talmid Talmidei? Talmid Talmidei is a Talmid of the Talmid, which means that this Talmid, the middle one, he's his Rebbe. He says, "Vayter Rabbanon v'Talmidei." Says the Goyen that whenever somebody is mechadesh talmidei and what he didn't hear from his Rebbe, but vibalti could be oimed am vosvol the Rebbe gizokt. Sometimes somebody got a derech. This is a talmid of the Briskerov. Psavot from the Briskerov. Vosvol the Briskerov gizokt when he would come to such a kash. So it means to say that theoretically, by asking the question vosvol the Rebbe gizokt, what my Rebbe said, it's considered the talmidein. Those who learn in the next generation, and the generation learns by the Talmid's Talmid, is really not misyaches to his own Rebbe. But furthermore, he goes to the original source, to the Rebbe's Rebbe, and therefore, the Talmidein is considered as if he's a Talmid of the original Rebbe. As I said to Goy. Eliezer HaGodel, even though his midah was, he never ever said something that he never heard from his Rebbe in L'Olam, but yet, Rabbi Eliezer, throughout the Chet HaEgel, we said there was a Shichach HaSatira, and Rabbi Eliezer was Machzir HaTorah L'Yoshna, and this Shichach HaSatira, it came back, was revived, was reconstituted. So Rabbi Eliezer ben Hurcanus is Mechadesh Dvorim Shelo Yishma Ton Oizen Oilo. What does it mean? All those things which were given by Moshe Rabbeinu, but when Nishkach, Rabbi Eliezer ben Hurcanus was able, with his koyach, with his chafivas hatayra, with his boyasi chenim abetipa, to reconstitute, to revive, and to bring back the halachas shalishmat and oizem oilam. But it is his Rabbi's Rabbi. He is misyaches to what Moshe Rabbeinu said, and therefore that's what Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai says. My moshel and mayon shu moitzi yoser mashu machnis. In other words, he's able to generate more Torah than he received, because even though from Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai he only heard this and this and this halacha, but now through his madrega of Rabbi Eliezer ben Hurcanus, he could come alone and be Talmidei Talmideon and bring back the Torah Shelo Yishmatem Oizim Oilam. This is the Torah Moshe, the unforgotten Torah which was forgotten through our generation and was brought back, was reconstituted through Rabbi Eliezer ben Hurcanus, who was Machzir Torah Yoshno, and he is the one who brought back. Rabbi Eliezer ben Hurcanus is the Pora Aduma, is the master of Parshas Chukos of Pora Aduma.